April 1st, in order. Stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Larry, can you call the roll, please?
Randy Gentry,
Here.
Nancy Alsop,
Here.
Brenda Wilson,
Here.
Steve Ellis,
Here.
Vicki Wager,
Here.
Brad Anderson,
Here.
David Thompson, who's on vacation.
He's out of town. Said he's sorry he had to miss. Okay.
Sorry.
Communications from elected officials. We have anybody out there that wants to talk to us on this? Mike?
Yeah, been doing quite a bit of thinking last week or so, and something provoked me. Next week, I believe you'll be asked. I've made copies of this and had them get put out for you. The resolution adopting Riverfront Development Master Plan, and the city and the county have contributed to this, and it's been like a year-and-a-half plan. Lori Danielson's put a lot of work into it, some good ideas, but it's interesting. It covers an area from like Hallman to Cherry, 4th Street to the river. And if you've noticed within that district, county has a pretty big footprint in that. And in one of this is therefore be resolved, the Council of Vigo County commits to working in partnership with the City of Terre Haute, Riverscape, private sector stakeholders, community organizations, and residents to implement the strategies and recommendations outlined in the master plan. And as one commissioner, I'm struggling with this. We put a fountain in between the courthouse and the city hall, and they paid for most of it, but now we have a maintenance upkeep that we have to pay annually for that, plus we have to keep it up. We got into more work on the repair than what was agreed to. We agreed to all these things as we've transpired. Currently, as you know, with the demolition, we're putting in a new cul-de-sac drive on the north side of the courthouse, and a recommendation from one of these organizations that we're supposed to work with is to hire an architect for over $200,000 to devise a plan to walk to the river. And the commissioners got with them, with the art space people, and came up with some recommendations incorporated with the plan. And we didn't have to hire a $200,000 architect to do it. So, point is, we spent a lot of money, millions of dollars actually, to improve this district. Roof repair and painting on the courthouse. Juvenile center's undergoing $800,000 renovation right now. Community Corrections was repainted and all the windows recaulked for several thousands of dollars. Was that last year? Year before last? Year before last. All the parking lots were resealed and striped. You know, this isn't very sexy, but these are things we've done. Entries and exits of the county exits redone. Let's see. Road construction, and that minor jail demolition, that one too. So, you know, I just don't see much participation with these people. The Riverscape, we donate $50,000 annually to, and you know, I would just caution that we be careful when we have to be at the support the plans that these people don't have too much money invested in. So I think that's, yeah.
Brenda, you have.
Yeah, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Beg your pardon?
Do you mind if I ask you a question? Or
Sure.
Who drafted this?
This is a plan that the Terre Haute has implemented for riverfront. And
but this
this
work-
was drafted, as far as I know, this was drafted by Lori Danielson.
Can it,
She was the person that was in charge of doing the study.
do you have a proposed,
Amendment to this?
well, something
No,
to
not really.
rectify that? I mean,
Not
can it-
really.
Can it be amended?
I just look at it that we've spent money, we've planned, we do have plans, we have continuing plans. We'd like to get the courthouse cleaned up and redone. We've got some quotes on that. You know, we've planned for this road construction. I mean, our riverfront development, we have a $8 million walkway to West Terre Haute. We have Wabashiki. We just acquired the Kerman Grotto through the Parks Department. We've got a dresser, acquisitions of property there, which Mayor Burke started years ago, and we've been continuing that project. We've been cleaning up that project since they started it, and then whatever. And we have a Dewey Point outlook going on, you know, moving. You know,
Is there a
I
way
just want participation, but you know,
Is there a way to modify this to recognize all that the county has done and to,
I don't know about that.
Encourage more?
I just would caution your participation because it just seems one-sided to me. That's about where I'm at.
Mr. President, what has the city put in?
They put in several thousands of dollars for this study, and they put, with our $50,000 and Riverscape that we give them, and they put in money to fund this study, and they've had this done with that Stantec, and then they got another $250,000 participation from the Army Corps. So they've spent about $500,000 on this. So it's a real deal, you know, but I don't know, you know, again, it just seems one-sided to me.
What exactly are they asking for? It doesn't appear that they're asking.
They're not asking for anything except
It says potential funding opportunity.
to implement this, we will commit to implementing the strategies and
But it doesn't define,
recommendations.
and it doesn't define what that is, so.
Well,
I don't know.
they have a master plan that they will present,
I see,
okay?
I see.
All right.
I was just saying, I don't think anybody could agree to something if we don't understand it, and at the moment, there's not much here.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Could we
President?
get the city to negotiate for us, maybe because they're getting a hell of a deal?
I think they've gotten a real good deal.
Yeah.
And you know, they've got a real deal going now. You know, the mayor in his infinite wisdom threw all you guys under the bus on a project we've been working on for 2 years. Appreciate that very much.
Yeah, we noticed that.
Mr. President.
Randy?
As a point of order, this is not a resolution that is been advertised. So will we even take this up next Tuesday? Can we, I mean, I don't think it can come before us even next Tuesday, right?
I don't think you'll even have, you know, any facts or figures by then, so, you know.
It's just
Yeah.
a proposal.
So,
We're not- it's
so do
just
you
a-
know if this is coming to us? Okay.
According to the email I got, it was coming to you on April 8th.
Okay. Just, Commissioner, just so you know, it was not advertised, so I don't know, you know, our legal counsel's not here, but I don't know whether we can even talk about this next week either way, so.
Well,
But
we
thank
can
you
talk-
for bringing it to our attention.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
all right.
Point well taken.
We got something. Oh, yeah, we did acquire that Kerman Grotto over there. The Parks Department picked that up finally after all these years.
Right.
And they're progressing with the football field over there, and that's working out pretty good. A lot of volunteerism right there. So things are still moving, guys.
Okay, thank you. Any other officials have anything they'd like to talk about? Or any agencies from the county have anything they'd like to add to the Sunshine meeting? Not. Reports from committees, which the only committee we have now is the Budget Committee, but we have not met yet. And we'll be doing that here in the next month, probably. We'll have a get-together and get started on that. Okay? And we're good on that, so we'll go to the resolutions and ordinances and other appropriations. We got a resolution of reallocation of existing appropriation for area plan transfer. It's on page 5, guys. Anybody here from area plan?
Hello. I'm not here on behalf of Jared Baylor, the executive director. He is in Florida this week as well, so I got the job of coming here to request this. He was appropriated $39,802 for a new vehicle this year. He did not spend the entire amount, and so he is requesting to a series transfer of $4,000 from the vehicles, which is a 4 series, to safety for the purchase and installment of safety lights for his truck that he purchased.
Mr. President, may I ask a question?
He's just asking for a transfer. Yes.
I don't think you're probably going to be able to answer this, but I did have a question in regards to the fact that we're using a company out of Danville, Illinois, and there's been so much made of trying to use local vendors, and I was just curious as how did we get hooked into Danville, Illinois as a vendor for putting lights on a vehicle?
Sure. Honestly, I can't answer that for you. That would be a question for
Can you
for
pass that
Jared.
along? And then
Sure.
next Tuesday, just some clarification is, again, why are we not trying to use a local vendor? I know several local places that would love to have the opportunity to work with the county.
Sure, I will pass that along.
Thank you.
Also, in the past, we've used the sheriff's department has done some work for us also, depending on what, is needed, but there may be something to look into that. I don't know, Mr. Little, I don't know who was doing that for us before for the, huh?
Scott Wolfley one time.
Yeah, Scott Wolfley was doing it at one time.
I think Cogan McLean also has a company that does that stuff as well. I'm not suggesting, I'm just saying that's a local, I don't know how many other locals there are, but that's one.
Who is it, Steve?
One of the deputies, I think a couple of the deputies started a company, and they're now outfitting the sheriff's department's vehicles, is my understanding.
Okay, something to check into.
Sure.
Ask Jared to do that when he gets
Okay.
back. Any other questions?
Nope.
Any other comments? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
We have an amended salary ordinance for the Vigo County Homes for Children position, and that's page 7, guys. Please state your names, guys, when you come up, please.
Absolutely. Hi. My name is Kara Gurovich. I am the Treatment and Licensing Director for Vigo County Homes for Children.
Katie Bartlett-Hagen, Family and Youth Service Director.
Suzanne Rick, Operations Director.
Thank you.
We're here as our Executive Director, Norm Loudermilk, is also on vacation.
Visit Florida.
His proposal was that we switch the setup for the scheduling for our direct care staff. It was originally set on a 48-hour on, 48-hour program that rotated between what we called house parents historically, but then changed the name to youth care specialists. The request is to take that same position and combine it with our overnight position and make it so it classifies as 2 12-hour shifts per day, a rotating of 12 hours. So staff, there's no live-in staff, but there's always obviously staff taking care of the children. Oh, excuse me. One of the reasons that we did want to propose this was it would actually allow us to be able to have a wider variety of children to take care of, so we can support the county better, get more kids in that need care, and not have it where we are unable to do that with the staff we have. Because unfortunately, the 48-hour shifts are making it almost impossible to, one, keep staff or hire staff when we lose them, because unfortunately we have had some turnover recently that is not normal in places that have rotating schedules as opposed to these overnight schedules. Does anyone have any questions?
I'm sure we will here after we read this for a moment.
Absolutely.
Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Vicki?
This is not an additional appropriation. I mean, the money's already there, you're just moving it around, correct?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
Randy?
All right, so these are questions that are going to go to the director, so obviously I'm sure he's probably on a beach somewhere watching us on YouTube right now. So, Mr. Loudermilk, so last month, we appropriated $100,000 from the juvenile center to allow the group homes to get the ball rolling.
Yes.
First question I have is, we went from 1 to 3. Last month, told we were at 5. Where are we at now?
For our residents, we
Yes.
have 4 currently.
Okay, so we're down to 4. I received a lot of phone calls in regards to why I personally was against the group home. I'm not against the group home. I actually seconded the motion on the $100,000 to get you guys rolling. I get a little nervous about these pay grade changes without somebody analyzing it from a budget perspective. But one of the things that DCS told me that bothered me a little bit is currently of the 4 children that you are currently supervising, how many of them are from Vigo County? Do you know that?
3 of them?
3 of them?
3 of them.
All right. You know, one of the things that I'm concerned about, because in my conversations with DCS was, and this may go to the reason that the previous director had closed the numbers down, because we're getting a lot of requests from DCS for children outside of Vigo County. Is that still going on? I mean, obviously, new ball game, DCS, you guys are getting rolling again. Are you part of those conversations? Can you answer that? Are we focused on Vigo County? Are we still getting requests from DCS from Chicago, or like East Chicago, South Bend, that kind of thing?
We do get requests from from around the state, but we do try to preferential treatment to Vigo County kids. Unfortunately, a lot of the recent referrals we've gotten for Vigo County kids are for girls, and because we don't have the staffing, we're stuck hoping that we can eventually take them. So we keep communicating with them, but we have taken the Vigo kids we can. The boys that are available, we are happy to take.
Okay. You're not, are you refusing the children coming from other locations at this point? Was that a practice that was done before and is being a practice done now? Or, so for example, if DCS calls up and says, we've got a person from Indianapolis or a child from Indianapolis, do you take that child, or do you only focus on Vigo County? Do you know?
If the child is If the child is appropriate, And if we think that the child could do well in our program, we will take that child.
Okay, all right. One of the things that I continue to be worried about, again, not addressing necessarily the three of you as much as Director Loudermilk, is that we gave you $100,000 to get going. We understand that there was a budget that was set up. Obviously, we were not using the money out of that budget from last year because we didn't have any kids. Well, we had one kid. So fully understand that there's an excess of funds that are there. But one of the things that I get worried about, I love the idea of the 12-hour shift compared to the 24-hour shift. That makes all the sense in the world. But the one thing I'm worried about is without some type of fiscal review of this in regards to a pay grade shift, it hurts us in two ways. One, it has been previously stated by previous boards, again, I'm not addressing you as much as I am sending this out to Mr. Loudermilk, but previously, councils have made a promise to all county employees that we're trying to get them to midpoint. Every time that we make a shift in pay grades, we are shifting that midpoint farther out and makes it harder for us to obtain the promise that a previous council had made. So that's one of the concerns I have. The idea of shifting to the 12-hour shift is a great tool. I'm sure you're going to get more people interested in doing that over the, that's a no-brainer. But I'm still a little concerned about the pay grade shift. And I believe, Mr. President, that we were going to get some input from Kara Wright. I think that was directed, that Kara Wright was going to review and give us some type of information as to whether these pay grade shifts made sense or not. So I don't see Kara here tonight, but I was curious, has there been communication with HR, if you know?
I know a little bit after speaking to Norm. He did mention that he has talked to her, and the pay grade shifts, the only changes are for what were classified as our night guards, and the reason those are getting shifted, they're going to what was the same pay grade as our youth care specialists, because we're making everyone youth care specialists, and they're going to do all the same work. Previously, they didn't.
Okay.
So now that was the change that Norm explained to us.
So you're going to basically take two night guards, if I'm wrong on the number, tell me, and you're essentially doing away with a standalone night guard and creating two additional, what did you call them?
Youth care specialists.
So that's the reasoning behind the pay grade shift.
And
the other ones are already at that pay grade?
Yes, they're just paid daily rates as opposed to hourly because of the shift work. But when you average out the time, it was the exact same pay. It just was going from a day pay, which was on the $257.85. When it's averaged out, it does go to the $22.53 an hour. So the only difference was adding and basically eliminating a position that doesn't need to exist when we have 12-hour shifts, because that means all staff are all doing the same work.
Okay, so it's basically night guard and
Youth care
the
specialists.
youth care is all one tied together, basically. They're
Yes.
Okay. Makes a little bit more sense. Commissioner?
I believe that the $100,000 was for repair and maintenance of the facility, not for wages.
Is the $400,000, and then Commissioner, that Mr. Loudermilk has talked about, is he had a $400,000 budget, has no wages coming out of that?
No, that's not what was said.
No, I don't know, I'm asking.
The money was set in last year's budget to run group homes with a staffing, I believe, of about 14 people. That was set last year at the annual budget time. So there is a budget for group homes, for staffing, for labor.
Okay.
This is no appropriation change on all this.
No, Norm had, what was it, 48-hour shifts? 48-hour shifts, and this is to tidy it up. He he's going to get people to work on 12-hour shifts. He can manage that.
Okay.
But to follow up with that, what I'm trying to say is it may not be an appropriation on paper, but it could still be something that we may have to face in the future, Mr. President, in the sense that when you, as Budget Committee Chair, you may see this because, again, there's excess money there. Of course, there's no appropriation needed because we budgeted X, and then now we're coming into this, we're using up some of that excess. But then when you start the budget into the future, so I just want to make sure that it's not an ongoing appropriation, if you understand what I'm saying.
Well,
And,
now there's I think there's still some confusion here. The $100,000 came out of the Juvenile Center non-reverting fund, so that's one fund. The allocation for wages is another allocation that's been made in the annual budget, and what was appropriated was $100,000 out of the non-reverting fund. There's money in that fund, but it's not spare money, it's not this money, it's not whatever. But that's not being used for wages. There's enough allocation in there, and Director Loudermilk has structured the staffing to be able to come in with that, to manage with what was allocated in the last year's annual budget, I believe.
Yeah, and Commissioner, I think we're probably passing each other at 50,000 foot. I'm not truly tying the two together. What I'm trying to say is if you budgeted 400,000, we've obviously been
We didn't budget 400,000.
whatever the budget was for last year.
I don't
Yeah.
have anything.
I was told it was around $400,000.
Yeah, it is.
For-
but it.
Well, let me finish. Let me
Okay,
finish my thought.
all right.
Let me finish my thought. Again, my thought is that if we weren't using the funds, yeah, it's not an appropriation right now, but we may, when this budget cycle comes around, we may find that it will be an appropriation moving forward, is what I'm trying to say. We're using up funds that were not used previously because, again, the group home was technically shut down. We were on minimal amount. Is that a correct statement?
No. Well, it was funded for 2025 100%.
But we
The-
didn't use that money. Did we?
We didn't. We're using it right now. It's
Right.
funding their payroll right now.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
but what I'm saying is
But-
we're
but this-
eating
but
that-
this-
we're
but-
eating, yeah, we're taking that money down as
But-
we do the reconfiguration.
But you need to get Devin to look up exactly what that amount is. I don't know what was budgeted for group homes.
Yeah, well, we'll have to look and see
Yeah.
what it
Right.
is, and we need to talk to Kara too, and see what her decision was or thought.
I think I have a better understanding of your question. We're budgeted for 7 full-time direct care staff.
There you go. Help me out. Okay, well, now we're on the right path. Like
I
I
was
said,
like-
I figured the commissioner and I were flying. We were saying this, yeah, we were going over each other. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, we have 7 full-time direct care positions that are including the 3 night guard positions and the 4 youth care specialists.
Okay.
So those positions are the only full-time we have. So we're requesting with the 12-hour shifts that we would be able to fit those in with that same budget, which wouldn't involve hiring additional full-time employees until we need to open the second house.
So we are using the funds that we had from last year's budget, right?
Yes.
Yes.
From this year's
Not
budget.
in a negative
this-
way.
Yeah, no, no.
For 25.
Yeah, we're using last year's budget. I'm just saying, moving forward, we need to be cautious that we don't add a whole bunch of pay grade changes and so forth that then creates drama as we move forward, is all I'm saying. So, it's fine.
Well, The
Thank you,
money
Mr. President.
hasn't been spent from the 25 budget till just getting this thing organized, and it will happen. But we'll get some figures, and when Mr. Loudermilk's back, we can fire some at him. Okay, any other questions?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's important to note, since we've been open, we have brought in $135,025,
Wow.
which is quite significant.
Since you've
That was
been
gonna be
open,
one of my questions. Why are we bringing in a day with those people? So
When you say since you've been open,
Since this is
The
since
group
been-
home.
February
Yeah.
24th. Since February 24th. That's how much we've brought in.
thank you.
Is that after expenses, or is that just?
No, that's just revenue that the
That's our per diem total funds from DCS that pays us for the children we take in.
Right. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Next one will be appropriation 2025-23, Health Department, Crossroads Care Clinic.
Good evening. Joni Wise, Administrator, Vigo County Health Department. Met with the State Finance Committee for Health First Indiana last week, and we're one of the few health departments that are less than 8%, have just 8%, less than 8% of our carryover funds from 2024 to spend, which they said is excellent. So that's what I'm here to talk to you about tonight, is your consideration for funding for the Crossroads Care Clinic. And Crossroads Care Clinic is a unique agency because they provide services that aren't done by other agencies. They're a community partner of ours. They're a community partner of Union Health. They help collaborate with their HRSA-funded Health Start grant, which is a maternal child grant, and to have better outcomes. And I have invited their director here this evening to tell you a little bit about their clinic and the services that they provide. Sharon Carey, please.
Thank you, Joni. Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity, and thank you. I just want to thank all of you for considering partnering with the CCC financially so that we can serve our community even better. So I'm just going to give you a little overview. We've been open since 1988. We are a nonprofit organization. We have 11 paid staff, 2 paid nurses. One is a paid nurse manager, one is a paid nurse. We have a paid sonographer. We have 48 volunteers. We have 2 nurse practitioners that volunteer, a nurse that volunteers, a medical director who also volunteers, and we have 8 governing board members, and I'm privileged to have 2 of those here tonight. One is Steve Holman, from CEO at Union Hospital. He's on our board, and love having him on the board. And then Carol Lucas, some of you may know her. She was over the nursing for Vigo County School for how many years? 32 total. So we were privileged to have her. She was on staff for a little while, and now she's moved on the board. So just to kind of give you a little idea of our structure, last year we saw over 2,000 clients. 5 of those were males. Most of our services are free. The only thing that we charge is lab fees. That's some of the things that we're asking for so that we can offer all of these services free. We'll pass on the lab fees to the clients. A lot of our services, our medical services, are free as well because of the volunteers that give their time. We offer things such as assessments for bacterial vaginosis, yeast infections, on and on and on. So most everything is free. We have our parenting support classes that you may have seen, and individuals, moms and dads, can be in this program for up to 2 years. And many of our programs, those that are a part of those, we will definitely help them through whatever they need. The parenting classes are great, 2 hours, and 2 years, I mean. So it's just very comprehensive. We just really want to help these moms and dads to learn how to parent and to, become better citizens of Vigo County. And I'll just read just a brief testimony of one of our men who now is in the Netherlands, but his name was John David, who was part of our parenting classes for 2 years. He said, I wanted to say that the men's programs and the family programs at the CCC have really changed my life. As I grew up without a father, becoming a father was a great stress for me. Our experience with the CCC is one that we still talk about today. It made me realize there are people still doing a great deal of good in the world. And I personally have developed into manhood and fatherhood through the guidance of these programs. One other one who came in was terrified of being pregnant. She said, when I went to the CCC, I wanted to find out if I was. Not only did we get that answer, but we were accepted and not judged. Talking with the people at the CCC was one of the best things my boyfriend and I did. They helped to see so many positive views instead of negative. Talking with them eased so much of my anxiety and negative thoughts we were both having. They accepted us and didn't make us feel anything other than that. We had our little man in January, and we are so beyond blessed. And I knew I was pregnant at 6 weeks because of the CCC, and I'm so grateful to have gone there and had the support that we did. So just 2 little testimonies to let you know some of the things that we do. So thank you for considering this so that together we can make our community better.
Thank you. Any questions to her?
Mr. President? Question. Joni, I don't know if you want to answer. Just looking at the submission as to what the funds would go for, $20,000 for promotional. What kind of ideas do you have to use in that promotional area?
Well, we just changed our name, so that will be for new signage on the outside. We have a mobile unit that needed a new wrap, and several like brochures and all kinds of website, and I have a list that I could give you if you want to know that,
fine.
but that's what that's for.
Very good. Just curious.
To get the
Thank you.
name out so they know that we have a name
Absolutely.
change.
Understand. Thank you. Thank you for the work you do.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions. How do potential clients find out about you?
Mostly through word of mouth. That's our number one way that clients find out. Also on the internet, they do searches. They find our website as well. So, and through other organizations, we have referrals from other, we get some from the health department for our screening, for our STD screening and those types of things. So we do that. We get a lot of referrals from other physicians as well for our STD screening.
You said it's a mobile?
Yeah, we have a mobile unit that goes out to the community, to areas where it's hard for them to get to our location.
Okay, but you also have a physical location
Oh,
in
yes,
town?
yes.
And then, just to reiterate, everything pretty much is free to the end
Yes.
user? Okay, thank you.
What is your location for your?
We are located at 530 Wabash Avenue. It's the Ellis Building, the 5-story building and we're on the bottom floor.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I do one more.
Okay.
Can anybody qualify for your services?
Yes.
Or is this?
It doesn't matter who
You
they are.
don't need to be like low income or anything of that nature?
No, anyone who wants to come is welcome to come.
We'll have people that'll call our clinic and they'll want a pregnancy test. They can go there and get one. During the pregnancy, they want to have a sonogram, whether on the mobile unit or in the brick and mortar clinic, they can. It just offers so many services
Right.
that they're unique and you can't go into any other place in Terre Haute or Vigo County and receive, especially free.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
All right,
They
thank
like
you.
free.
I had no idea.
They like free.
I had no idea that we had a service in town like that.
I wasn't aware of it either.
And the fact that they take the mobile unit out and still serve moms that are pregnant, because it's such a huge barrier for a lot of people. We think everybody's got a car and can get to a doctor appointment. They can't.
I'll try not to ask, one more question. I'll try
Okay.
not to ask any more after that. Clearly, you're not going to be able to function on $39,000 a year. So where do you get the rest of your funding? How do you?
Locally, from individuals, businesses, churches, also grants from the community as well. Clara Fairbanks is one of those that provide several grants for us, and we've received some grants through Union Health as well. So that's where our funding comes from.
All right, thank you.
Always ask as many questions as you want, because that's to understand.
Yes.
Vicki?
How many folks work down there at 5th and Wabash? How many folks do you have in there?
How many we have
Staff,
11
yeah,
staff,
staff.
11 paid staff, and
I
we
know you listed off your nurses and so forth, and they are located there. And that includes your folks that go out mobile and all
Right.
that sort of thing.
Correct.
It's remarkable.
Mhm.
This is really remarkable, and it's so needed.
It is needed, yes.
Good on you.
We're trying to make a difference in the community and help these men and women
Yes, it
learn how
will.
to become parents,
It
because
certainly
most
will.
of them have no idea.
Okay, thank you. Joni, you got anything to add?
I was just gonna add, probably the last request I'm gonna be bringing in is going to be with Catholic Charities on their food bank program. And John Etling and I are working on something like that. That'll be the last thing, and then you'll be wondering, is Joni still growing her hair out?
Okay.
I'll see you next Tuesday.
Well, I
Thank you.
appreciate her
Thank you.
considering us, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, additional appropriation and prosecutors, equitable sharing, budget request, page 11.
Rob Roberts.
Good evening, Rob Roberts, Chief Deputy Prosecutor here in Vigo County. The request that's before you is a result of dollars that were seized during the course of investigations that ultimately went through the federal forfeiture process. They are then distributed back to the agencies that were involved in a breakdown process that's controlled by them. That money is then sent down for use that is restricted by the equitable sharing agreement that we sign with the federal government. As you see, we received an allocation of about $65,000. We're asking that that be just budgeted in the law enforcement grants line item that we routinely used for some other lines of income that the prosecutor's office has. And then those dollars are then ultimately utilized for the benefit of our local law enforcement community. We've got 2 projects that we're looking to fund for this as outlined in our letter.
Do you know the amount of money in those funds right now?
The number that you have in that request is the exact dollar amount to the penny that we have available in that fund.
That the prosecutor has?
Yes.
And Rob, this is, every year you do this. I mean, you come for the council and.
It depends on whether
When
or
you
not
get
we
the money.
receive an allocation
Yeah,
or not.
right.
That depends on how many joint investigations have happened with the Drug Enforcement Administration and other agencies that we work with on a regular basis. But when we receive those allocations, yes, we come
Seems
and
like we
meet.
see you pretty regularly every year, though.
Well, and we have some other lines of income that we're very conservative in budgeting for things like the infraction deferral and for the regular state seized asset funds because we don't want to tap those out completely. We want to make sure that there's reserves there if something unexpected comes up. So that's why you see me here so frequently.
I've got one question. One of the items on here is Celebrite, or I'm not sure how you say it, but
Yes.
it's a system for cell phone.
Yes.
Is that something, I noticed the police car is for the THPD. Is the Celebrite, does that help the county do their investigations for cell phones, or is that strictly for city as well?
They would certainly assist, but we also have the high-tech crime unit that we partnership with Indiana State University through our office that serves not only all the law enforcement agencies in Vigo County, but a total of 8 different counties. We receive roughly $300,000 a year in funding from the state to operate that program. So yes, this is primarily for the emergency situations that happen. So if there was an emergency situation and the sheriff's department had an ongoing investigation, similar to the homicide that I was out for all night a couple of weeks ago, if there were cell phones that needed to be urgently downloaded, we could contact the Terre Haute Police Department and they would assist with that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, Rob, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming in. Additional appropriation, drug-free community fund request. Brandon's here, so.
Good evening, Brandon Halleck. I'm the Chief Operating Officer
12.
for Chances and Services for Youth, but I also serve as the Treasurer for Drug Free Vigo County. Local Coordinating Council, as well as what it is, as we're working with the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute. One of 92, there's one in 92 in there's one in every county in the state of Indiana, and these fees are the drug interdiction fees. So when Rob's office is out here prosecuting, and then they go before the judge levies fees against folks, and it's about, Rob, was it $200 a person? Per case. And then, so these fees are collected. What we do, rather than go to you in June and try to guess how much money we're going to collect, I wait till we've collected and then ask for appropriation. So these are funds that are collected. Ignore if you got my letter, it said 2023. I was copying and pasting from the previous.
Well,
from
we
the
questioned that.
Yes, it's from the previous letter that I just make sure that I have the same language, and I got the correct date on the letter, but just the incorrect year. So it's 2024 funds that we've collected that I verify with the auditor's office to make sure that we have. And so then those funds, and of those collected dollars, 75% stays locally to go to the coordinating council, 25% goes back up to Indianapolis to the Criminal Justice Institute for funding purposes there.
Pretty straightforward.
So 25% goes to the state, you said?
75% stays here locally, and then what happens is that the coalition, then, which is made up of many organizations, then there's formulas too, because it's grant driven then at that point in time, and then you have treatment, law enforcement, and prevention areas.
Does that money come to you in June then on a fiscal time, or is it just?
No,
collected
well, I'll
over?
actually have the claims go to once you approve the appropriations, I'll probably have claims here, I would say this hopefully in April. We're ready to move forward. We're just waiting on us to appropriate. The state year for this fund is actually April 1 to March 30th, but the collection year is December or January 1 to December 31st. So I just wait until I try to make my life a little bit easier as a volunteer treasurer for the coalition here, and say, let's just wait until April when the state fiscal year starts for this program itself. So,
Sure. Okay, any other questions from the council? Okay, if not, thank you.
all right.
We'll see you next week. Okay, guys, additional appropriation, Vigo County Community Corrections.
Good evening, council members. Mark Klinkenbeard, Vigo County Commissioner. Tom Little with Vigo County Security. First, before I start on this, I'd just like to give a word of support to the Crossroads Care Clinic. My wife worked there for 3 years, and they do amazing work. Just give them a word of support there. One of the things that we have to take care of is X-ray machines, security stations for different buildings throughout the county. Currently, we are one down, and we are asking to have that replaced. I've given you, thanks to Mr. Little, 4 different estimates, and we asked for the highest one, but pleased to say that that's not the one that we want. We want the one for AutoClear, that the total is $19,657. I let Mr. Little talk about that a little bit. They use these brands in other locations and been very happy with them. My understanding that these machines typically run 5 to 7 years. Average. So I'll let you add anything that you might there.
Yes, like Mark was saying, average lifespan's 5 to 7 years. Depends on how much they're getting used, of course, maintenance. Anything like that. Yes, the company that I'm wanting to go with, usually it's a 2-year warranty, but working with them the last 4 years, I've gotten a 3-year warranty out of them. They gave us a Indiana Sheriff's discount of $1,000 off that machine. The old machine will be disposed of through Mervis recycling. The old machine will be picked up through Vigo County Highway Maintenance. So that'll be disposed of, which there's no cost to that. Any questions or?
I'll ask one.
Go ahead.
This is for Commissioner Klinkenbeard.
Yes, sir.
So, out of curiosity, if we're getting this one, why do we ask for the appropriation of the $30,000?
If you remember, dealing with cameras, we came with one request, and you asked for a different one. So this one, we cover the base at the top because we can always go down, we can't go up.
Gotcha.
Mr. President.
Does that make sense?
Randy?
Yeah. One of the things I'd like to know is on the AutoClear 5333 DVS model, and looking that up, there's actually two power cycles. One of them is got a generator, it's 100 kV, and one of them is 160 kV. There's quite a difference in the price of these two different models. It's not a different model, different power of each model, and obviously for the layman that is the penetration of the actual. And I saw on the other quotes, a lot of them showed the 160, but the quote that we're actually looking at here does not distinguish the 100 kV or the 160 kV. And the only thing is this is a great price. I just want to make sure that by next week you guys can confirm that we're getting the 160 kV.
I believe we.
There's nowhere in the bid, and I thought,
Hang on.
you just want to make sure we tighten that up.
Mark, you might need the 30.
Nope, give me a second. I believe it's the 160. Let me check real quick.
The only thing that I saw in the actual quote, and you guys know me by now, I looked all these up, just followed, that I do see that on the standard equipment under number 1 on the quote, it says high penetration, but there's no mention as to whether it's the 100 kV or the 160. Again, great price, just want to make sure we're getting the 160, not the 100.
I could go out there and look at this one right here. It's the same exact model, what we're getting, so.
Well, see, it's not on the model number, it's actually going to be the actual generator, it's the power that goes to it. So it's the same model number. That's what's confusing about it, is they sell two different powers within the same model number.
I believe the one we're getting, or wanting, is the 160.
Can you check on that?
Yes, I can.
It's easy fix. I just
Yeah,
wanted to
that's
know,
fine.
make sure that we're getting the 160.
Yeah, if you can check on that for next week, make sure there.
We'll email you.
Okay.
Let you know.
Thank
All
you,
right.
thank
Any
you.
other questions? Mark?
Yeah, I just wanted to just put this in your ear. When these go down, we have to wait for a while to get another one. I would just maybe consider putting an extra one in the budget for next year so we can have one for a spare, because they do go down. We have a lot of them. I'm just throwing that out there.
See if they got a 2-for-1 deal?
Well, yeah, we can check on that.
Check on that, Mr. Little, please.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
So when you say putting one in the budget, are you meaning actually buy one next year and
No.
just use as an extra, or just have the budget there?
Yeah, pretty much.
So
Have a
would,
spare.
but then would that hurt the warranty if we're not using it and the warranty's only 2 or 3 years?
I would hold off on buying it.
Well, we can ask
I
them
just
not to
budget
wait.
for it.
Just budget
When
for
they-
it?
And we'll check on the other ones and see what the lifespan is of them, see which one,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I'm just.
So we're
Yeah.
not without security.
That's just
Yeah,
something
we
you're
hate to
going
be
to bring
without 'em
before the budget
because
committee this
it
summer
takes-
Yeah.
and ask for.
Yes.
Yep, okay, sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
Next one, Highway Department, appropriation 2025-27, request for a diagnostic scanner.
CAT scan?
Engineer.
MRI.
Good evening. No. Good evening, members of council. Larry Robbins, Vigo County Engineer, Highway Director. I apologize. I'm recovering from a cold, so my voice is a little off. So now the first request here is during our normal operations, we end up with quite a bit of scrap metal, which kind of accumulates from time to time. So we did haul some of that in. So I will note that we have quite a send $13,110 in scrap that we hauled in over the last month. And one of the purchases the guys really wanted was this diagnostic tool to help diagnose any issues we're having with any of our equipment. So this will vary from passenger vehicles all the way up to heavy equipment. And this was a quote from the Matco rep that the guys got. They demoed this tool. They actually used it to find an issue that we were having with a John Deere tractor. So it has already proven that it can be useful for us, and it's something the guys were wanting to help keep our equipment running in good shape and out there on the road doing its job. So,
Do you have that money in a separate account or separate line item that you've taken in?
so it's just been quiet. It's in right now, so it's in there as additional revenue right now. So this is just a request to appropriate that on miscellaneous revenue into a new equipment line in MVH.
Just curious, this diagnostic machine works on any vehicle? I mean, it's just
That is what
universal?
I'm told. It works on, on the description there that you have, it lists, it goes from, the guys told me it went from passenger vehicles, but it does list on there, it goes from passenger vehicles all the way up to heavy equipment. I'm sure there are some limitations, but this is a broad scope diagnostic tool that will work with the majority of our equipment. There may be some proprietary scan tools in some of our newer equipment that it may not read, but those are usually covered under warranty for the most part. So.
Awesome, thank you.
Mr. President? Yes. Wanted to ask you, do you know what the annual fee is on this? Have you?
I do not. It was something that I would probably
Is that something that you would already have the funds to be able to do? If
Yes,
it's
correct.
$2,000-$3,000 or whatever? Okay.
Yes, correct. If there was an annual fee to upload this, to update it every year, or for usage of this is something I could support with my regular budget. We have fees and everything that we already cover, other warranties of some other tools that we have and things. So.
How familiar are you with this particular brand? Do you guys use this in the shop quite a bit, Matco?
Matco rep visits our shop quite often. I think the Snap-on guy does as well. I think there are a number of those reps that come. I'm not familiar with all of them personally myself. This is just one that the guys did demo. They were satisfied with it. They were looking at some other rates, but this was the quote that we got, so this is the appropriation I got. So if we could get it cheaper somewhere else, I wouldn't spend it that much. But
Yeah. No, Matco seems to be the only company that actually makes a dual diagnostic that covers everything from passenger all the way up to, there's some other companies, but they're pretty obscure. They're not very big. So
Correct.
most of the bigger names, this is the only company that I know of that has that dual capability. So.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, you got one more thing.
I do.
Bring in front of us.
So I did pass out some information there before the meeting. It is a letter that was put together by the inspecting team there for the project. But again, good evening, members of council. Larry Robbins, Vigo County Engineer, Highway Director. This request is for additional appropriation out of the edit fund into a capital line for Spring Hill. This has to do with several change orders that were associated with the project. The majority of these are delays that have been attributed to a particular utility company. I did include the change order log on there from NDOT's software and highlighted the ones that this particular change order addresses. We have been knowing that this is going to be coming for quite some time. However, I did not budget for this last year because, for one, I did not know the number, and for two, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have enough covered, any shortfalls in the project to cover this already. So as you'll see on the change order log, the last change order was a negative $200,000 change order, and that was for quantity adjustments, things that we saved while completing the work. So I will address the letter that I handed out tonight. This was something that was put together for me by the inspecting firm, RQAW, roughly a year ago. And this is a timeline from the first letting of the project all the way through until April 9th of 2024, when a lot of these numbers and a lot of these things were getting worked out. So I can briefly run down that if you want, or we can talk about it. But the first, this project did actually, I will note that this project actually did let the first time in May of 2020 and was unsuccessful. So it did let two more times, once in November of 2021, again in February of 2022. At that point, we did have a successful bid. And then in April, all utilities, but Frontier in particular, was notified to begin relocation work. Excuse me. Pre-construction meeting was held in May of 2022. Y Construction's first day of work was delayed due to utility conflicts, and that was multiple utilities. That wasn't just Frontier. That was basically all utilities at that point. July of 2022, Frontier stated that they were completing their relocation drawings and needed 45 days to relocate fully once Spectrum was done. At this point, in July of 2013, Duke had already completed their relocation, which I would qualify as the major relocation for this project. They actually completed this in that time frame and still were called away for multiple weeks due to a hurricane during that same time frame. So in August, Frontier had not responded since July. The end of August, they failed to respond. August 27th, the 45 days were up. Frontier was obviously in the way. January 2023, still waiting on Spectrum to finish so Frontier could get started. And that was be for phase 2 actually, so there's not a note on that. So it continues on at May of 2023, there was an additional holdup. August 9th, Frontier was told by White they were pushing the start date on phase 2, and Frontier was still in the way, and they were notified that if they were not relocated within the next several weeks, that this would delay the job from the end of that year until the beginning of 2024. They failed to relocate that. They were told they're on site in October. The remaining relocation needed to be done by January 1st. They're on site again in November to review remaining conflicts from Frontier. January 4th, they had not relocated, so they were notified again that they needed to finish that as soon as possible. February 7th, Frontier stated they were finally complete, and then April 9th, Frontier was notified that they still had pedestals in the way, and they failed to respond to that as well. So these utility delays are a part of any project, and some of them, as you could see by some of that time frame, can be attributed to natural disasters and things of that sort. But for this one, it was mainly failure to respond by Frontier. And if you total those amounts, those non-participating change orders for Frontier's amount, I believe those were in the $340,000 range, $341,000 of costs that they cost our project and the Vigo County taxpayers' project from being completed. So the whole time we were waiting on them to complete their relocation, the county's contractor was sit basically idle and not able to proceed with that. So I have been working with the commissioner's attorney, Terry Modisett. We have a packet together. I'm told from members across the state that it will not do any good, but I still feel that it's right that we should pursue litigation for Frontier and the amount of those change orders, because I do not think that the Vigo County taxpayers should be the ones to burden this whole amount for their delays, mainly attributing to their unresponsiveness.
Was that project an 80-20?
It was an 80-20. That's what we're eligible for.
Right.
I will make a statement that most of these federal projects do not end up being 80-20. They end up mostly being 60-40 nowadays. NDOT has changed the way they've done most of their allocations. We are held to a fiscal constraint per federal fiscal year, and that is very hard for us to keep that in that time frame and keep that project truly 80-20. And that means 80% federal funds, 20% local. Most of these projects end up being closer to that 60-40 number, especially with change orders. NDOT likes to have some of these that are non-participating, and then they'll send you a bill at the end, which is what they've done in this case.
Landowners, or everything's settled within? Do we have to take some by eminent domain?
We did. We had 13 parcels that we had to condemn. We settled with most of those. I believe there's one parcel that is still pending litigation, but obviously the project is complete. We're just working out that final dollar amount in court.
Yeah, I know we had a lot of trouble getting all that.
It was a very lengthy process. I inherited this project when I came over from, when I worked here. It has its issues. It was a very narrow corridor, but a much needed improvement. It was the #1 highest accident corridor in the county, and those numbers have dropped off sharply. I have not run a report on that as well, but go ahead.
And admittedly, I don't fully understand all this, so
Sure.
My question may not even make sense. I apologize. Does the 340,000-ish that you say you're going to be filing suit against them for, does that include the fact that apparently we were at an 80-20 because they caused us to go over that, we're now losing another 20%. Then is that something that should be included? Because we might have qualified for the 80-20 had they not caused us to go over that time frame.
No, the 80-20 has to do with our funding and how it is budgeted with our MPO. So we get an estimate basically on these projects. They come into bid. The reason that this project had to bid 3 times was because we did not have a successful bidder.
Okay.
The first time we were 20% over the engineer's estimate. If you imagine the time frame that this was happening was all kind of around that COVID period where costs was skyrocketed through the roof. NDOT's bid process is usually about 6 to 8 months behind before they kind of roll in those updated numbers. So when we bid it in May, we had 1 bidder. They were 20% over the engineer's estimate. NDOT would not allow us to award that bid.
Gotcha.
You have to have a minimum of 3. So we redid some of the numbers, looked at some of the estimates, nailed down things, increased it a little bit, went back. NDOT does not allow you to just arbitrarily increase their estimates for these bids. So it came back, we bid again in November. There were 2 bidders at that point. One was the original bidder, one was another bidder from Illinois. And then February, we had the same 2 bidders bid again. This time, NDOT did allow us to raise our construction cost estimates based on the information they were seeing in their bids. Like I said, they were 6 to 8 months behind in lag. It was still over engineer's estimate, but it was within means that we could award that bid. I will note that it was the same bidder that was the low bidder in May, and did end up costing the county an additional about $800,000 to $900,000, just because that bid was not awardable, and there was no additional funding, federal funding, to throw towards the project. So the county had to pick up that local match. So that's where that 80-20 starts to get farther apart, if that makes any sense.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
So has Frontier been responsive at all at this point?
They have not. We've discussed with them. They're aware of the delays that they have. We have, we've talked about some of these change orders. They've obviously indicated that they do not want to participate in those, but they have not responded.
Well, this is going out on YouTube, so leadership of Frontier, heads up, taxpayers of Vigo County don't want to be paying for your delays, so please contact the county and
Yep.
Let's make this right.
Yeah, we've even Frontier came in to the commissioners and asked for a letter of support for a number of projects that they were doing here locally on a different note, and then the commissioners did deny that request based on some of the things that we've been going through with this. So
Thanks for staying on top of this, because it's something we ought to look into, definitely. I know we've discussed it before, but.
Yeah, it's not anything that I enjoy doing or like doing. I like to keep my projects as far as close to budget or under budget as I can, but sometimes there are just things beyond that we cannot take. Several of these change orders were escalation prices because had the contractor been able to do the work in the year that they had estimated, especially with the price increases that we saw during this time frame, we were seeing numbers from anywhere from 20 to 30% increases across the board, not even to acknowledge wages at that point. So those things were all things that we had to deal with right in the middle of this. So it was kind of I don't want to call it a perfect world for us, but it's a perfect world for that scenario to happen, and that's kind of what laid out. So.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, thank you, Larry, for staying on top of that. I know it's been a pain, but sure appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, is there anything from the public anybody would like to speak tonight? If not, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
See you next week.